Hello, everyone. My name is Otis Reed, and I'm an Education Associate in the Office of Emergency Programs at the South Carolina Department of Education. Thank you for tuning in today as I discuss the desk audit with you. If you are watching this recording, it is because you have been selected to participate in the desk audit, and we look forward to working with you in that effort. Here is a summary of the uniform guidance that mandates our office to monitor the use of ESSER funds in your LEA. As you can see here, we're tasked to monitor fiscally and programmatically. However, this desk audit is concerning your programs, your ESSER programs, and everything I say from here on out is in relation to programmatic monitoring. So please keep that in mind. General guidelines for completing the desk audit. As I just stated, we ask that you focus on programs and not spending. And this is concerning your implemented programs as of June 30th, 2022. If you recall, that was the requirement for the self-assessment as well. It was implementation as of June 30th, 2022, and we are continuing that with the desk audit. We ask that you provide thorough responses with adequate corresponding documentation. Your responses and your documentation will be reviewed by our office for accuracy. So please be as thorough and as transparent as you can. We ask that when you upload your documents, and this is where the difference comes in, when you compare the desk audit to the self-assessment. With the self-assessment, we didn't necessarily ask you for documentation or evidence to back up your responses, but with the desk audit, evidence is very important. So we ask that you upload the documentation in the places on the desk audit where it asks you to do that. And we also ask that you upload your documentation in an order that corresponds to the order of your bulleted list. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. First, I want to clarify what implemented programs are as they result, to the desk audit. Implemented programs are plans that are in motion or plans that where you started the process of completing the programs. We're not looking for completion, just as with the self-assessment. Completion is not the goal right now. We want to see that you're working toward completion of your programs by the project deadline. Completed programs also count as implemented programs. So if you have programs that have been completed, and looking at your self-assessments, many of you do, those count as implemented programs. However, However, implemented programs are not always complete. So we're not focusing on completion at this moment. We're focusing on implementation. As we discussed the desk audit, we are going to, like I said earlier, have you upload documentation to support your answers that you give us on the desk audit, to support your bulleted list that we're asking for. Here is a list of acceptable documentation that you may submit to us for the desk audit. This is not a complete list. You may think of other things that you can add as documentation that may be successful in showing us what you have implemented thus far. But again, this is a list. I'm not going to read it word for word for you, but you can look through the list and determine which pieces of documentation best serve your purpose for showing us what you have implemented thus far. And the first section of the desk audit deals with activities to address learning loss. Just as on the self-assessment, the first question comes up: did the LEA implement activities or strategies for the area of English language arts? If you answered yes, then you will continue to answer the other questions under English language arts. We're asking for a detailed list. That list can be bulleted or numbered to tell us which activities were implemented to address learning loss in English language arts. Then you will tell us what you're doing to measure the effectiveness of those programs. And then you will see here on the slide where you upload your files. We're asking that you upload one PDF per question. And again, we ask that those documents within that PDF correspond to the order of the bulleted list or the numbered list that you supplied to serve as your list of implemented activities for language arts. And also this comes up for mathematics and social emotional learning and other activities as well. And then we get into the portion of activities for other ARP ESSER funds. The question comes up, did the LEA implement activities under the ESEA or IDEA or AEFLA or the Perkins Act? If your answer is yes, you will continue to answer the questions below that. If you answered no, just as before, then you will skip the rest of the questions under that portion and go on to the next allowable category. We're asking you again to provide a detailed list of the activities that you have implemented to address those programs that I just mentioned. And then you will choose your file. Again, we're asking you to upload one file with all of your documentation to support this question here. And we ask that that the order of your documents correspond to the order of your list that you enter above it. And after that, there's a second part to this question. It asks, did the LEA have activities and strategies that have not been implemented under those programs? And if there are some activities that have not been listed, we ask that you tell us those activities that were not implemented. And again, you will provide a detailed list of those non-implemented activities and strategies. And it's okay at this point to have some activities and strategies that are not implemented yet. We just ask that you continue to work toward implementation because we do want all programs to be completed by the deadline of September 2024. The local education agency information. We want you to tell us, there are 4 questions listed on the desk audit for this section. If you remember back to the self-assessment, there were 8, but we have 4 on the desk audit. And we want to know if the LEA has been audited by the State Department Audit Services Department concerning ESSER funds. If your answer is no, you will simply answer no and move on to question number 2. But if your answer is yes, then you will see the following questions come up under that. It asks you to give us a brief description of the findings of the audit. And then 1B asks, does the LEA have a corrective action plan in place? If the answer is no, then please tell us that. But if the answer is yes, we ask that you upload the corrective action plan. And then we want you to tell us which parts of that plan have already been implemented. And once you complete those questions, this is just a brief overview of the questions that you will have in the desk audit. This is not every single question, but you will see that whenever you look at the desk audit, that there are more questions. And when it's done, you will get this nice message here where we thank you for completing your online submission of the ARP desk audit. If you have any questions, you may refer back to slide number 1, where we list our email address, SESSER@ed.sc.gov. You may submit your questions there. And in the very near future, you will get an email from a monitor from our office that is assigned to your district, and you may ask your questions directly to that monitor. So once again, we thank you for working with us throughout the monitoring process. We look forward to receiving your desk audits and we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. Have a great day. Thank you.